Eric had never believed in anything strange. He liked science because it had answers. He always wanted to know why things happened and how the world worked. That night, he was tired. He had spent extra hours at the university lab checking on an experiment that would not work the way he wanted. The road home was quiet and empty, just fields and some old fences on both sides. As he drove, his eyes started to feel heavy. He turned up the radio, hoping some music would help. Then he saw something he could not explain. A blue light flashed in the sky, brighter than any star, and it moved so fast that Eric almost thought he imagined it. He slowed down and looked up. The light seemed to jump, stopping for just a second, then racing off again. Curiosity pulled him like a magnet. He knew he should go home, but something in his mind kept saying, "Check it out. What if it's a meteor? Or maybe even a satellite? Falling?" He pulled the car to the side of the road, grabbed his phone, and walked toward the field where he saw the light land. The grass was wet with dew, and the night was cooler than he expected. The only sound was the wind and the crunch of his shoes. Eric's heart beat a little faster. He kept his eyes on the place where he thought the light had touched down. At first, he saw nothing. Then, as he walked deeper into the field, he noticed a faint, soft glow in the grass. It was not a campfire or a flashlight. It was something else. Eric walked closer, his hands shaking. There was an object on the ground, half covered by dirt and grass. It was metal, but not like any metal he knew. The surface was so smooth it looked like water, but it held its shape. The color shifted from blue to silver and back, and the light came from inside it, not from any bulb or battery. Reached out and touched the surface. It was cold, colder than the night air. As soon as his fingers made contact, a tingling shot up his arm. He gasped and pulled back, but the feeling stayed. He tried to stand, but his legs felt weak. The air around him started to hum, very softly. At first, then louder, like a swarm of bees hidden somewhere nearby. Before Eric could move, a wave of sleepiness washed over him. He tried to back away, but his body would not listen. The world tilted. The field and the sky spun together, and Eric felt himself falling. He did not hit the ground. Instead, he drifted down as if someone was holding him. Everything faded to black. When Eric opened his eyes, nothing was the same. He was no longer in the field. He could not feel the wind or the cold grass. Instead, he lay on a flat, smooth surface, almost like a hospital bed, but softer. The air smelled different, clean, sharp, and not like anything from Earth. Above him, lights moved in slow patterns, making the ceiling look alive. The walls were made of something that shimmered, almost as if it was breathing. Eric tried to sit up, but his body felt heavy, as if he was underwater. He heard soft noises, beeps, clicks, and what sounded like voices, but not any language he knew. He saw shapes moving around him. They were not human, but he could not focus on their faces. Each time he tried, his eyes slipped away, and all he saw were gentle shadows. One of the beings came closer. It had long arms, and its fingers glowed at the tips. Eric's fear grew, but the being made no move to hurt him. Instead, it gently touched Eric's arm. The touch was cold and light, almost like a doctor checking his pulse. Eric felt a strange calmness fill him. The being seemed to be talking to the others, though Eric could not understand a word. The beings put something next to Eric's head, a small machine that clicked softly. He could feel a light pressure in his mind, like someone was reading a book over his shoulder. The beings moved quickly but carefully, sometimes placing small pads on his skin or shining a narrow beam of blue light over his body. Eric tried to ask questions, but his mouth would not work. His voice stayed inside his head. He wanted to tell them he was afraid, that he did not know what was happening, but he could not move. He watched as one of the beings showed another a glowing image in the air, shapes and lines Eric could not understand. As the minutes passed, Eric's fear started to fade. The beings did not hurt him. They did not cut him or take anything away. They just seemed interested, like scientists studying a rare animal. He wondered if they felt the same curiosity he had felt about the light. Suddenly, Eric felt tired again. The lights above him grew brighter, and a soft, peaceful music filled the air, though he did not know where it came from. The being near his head pressed something to Eric's forehead. The world blurred, and he slipped back into darkness. Eric dreamed of strange shapes and colors. He heard whispers that grew louder and softer, never clear enough to understand. When he woke again, he was not in the strange room anymore. He was back in his car, the driver's seat cold and uncomfortable. The radio played softly, and the sun was just coming up. Eric looked around. His phone was on the seat next to him. His keys were in his lap. For a moment, he wondered if it had all been a dream. But when he rolled up his sleeve, he saw something that made his breath catch. On his forearm was a small silvery mark, shaped like nothing he had ever seen. It shimmered in the morning light, almost as if it was alive. Eric stared at it, a cold shiver running through him. He did not know what had happened to him. He did not know who those beings were or why they had chosen him. But deep down, Eric knew that life would never be the same. Something inside him had changed, and whatever it was only just beginning. Eric sat in his car, staring at the silvery mark on his arm. His heart beat fast as he touched the strange spot, feeling a cool, tingling sensation run through his fingers. The mark didn't hurt, but it felt different from the rest of his skin, almost like it didn't belong to him. He pulled his sleeve down quickly, looking around the empty road. Everything was quiet, just the wind blowing softly and the sound of a bird somewhere far away. It was morning now. The sky was pink and orange, and Eric could see the sun rising behind the hills. For a few moments, he tried to believe everything was normal, that maybe he just dreamed it all. But the mark was real, and it was still there. Eric started his car and drove home, still thinking about the night before. Every time he tried to remember, the details slipped away like water running through his hands. He remembered the blue light, the field, and then waking up in the car. The rest was blurry, flashes of strange shapes, cold lights, and a feeling of weightlessness. By the time he got to his small apartment, Eric felt even more tired than before. He dragged himself inside, dropped his bag on the floor, and sat down on the couch. His head was spinning. He decided to take a shower, hoping it would help him feel better. As the water ran over his skin, Eric looked at his arm again. The silvery mark seemed to glow faintly in the steam. He tried scrubbing it, but it didn't fade. It just shimmered, almost as if it was alive. Eric stared at it, wondering if he should call someone, maybe the police or a doctor, or even a scientist from his university. But what would he say? That he saw a light, passed out, and now had an alien mark on his skin? They would never believe him. All day, Eric tried to ignore the mark, but it was impossible. He felt tired and dizzy, like he hadn't slept in days. When he closed his eyes, he heard a faint buzzing sound deep inside his ears. It wasn't loud, but it was always there, soft and steady, like a machine running in the background. He ate breakfast, but could barely taste anything. He tried watching TV, but he couldn't focus. Even music didn't help. Later, Eric called. His mother, just to hear a familiar voice. He tried to act normal, but she could tell something was wrong. "You sound tired, honey," she said. "Are you getting enough sleep?" Eric almost told her everything, but he stopped himself. Instead, he just said he was stressed about work and promised to call her again soon. As the day went on, the mark on Eric's arm began to change. It started to spread, just a little at first, like a drop of ink in water. The edges grew softer, and the color shifted from silver to a light blue. It felt warm sometimes, and other times it felt ice cold. Eric tried to ignore it, but every time he looked down, it was a little bigger. He started to worry. What if it kept growing? What if it spread all over his body? Eric decided he needed proof. He took out his phone and started a video diary. He sat on his bed, held up his arm, and showed the mark to the camera. His hand shook a little as he spoke. "My name is Eric. I don't know what's happening to me," he said, his voice trembling. "Last night I saw a light. I think something happened in the field. I have this mark now and it's changing. I feel strange. If anyone finds this, please believe me." Every few hours, Eric made a new video. He measured the mark with a ruler and wrote down what he felt. He checked his temperature, his heart rate, and his skin color. Sometimes he thought about going to the hospital, but he was afraid they would laugh at him or call him crazy. He even considered calling his old college friend Mia, who always listened to his problems, but he worried she wouldn't understand. That night, Eric tried to sleep, but his dreams were filled with strange images. He saw the blue light again, and the field, and then a room filled with soft, moving lights. Shadows moved around him, speaking in a language he couldn't understand. He felt cold hands on his skin, but he wasn't afraid. Instead, he felt a deep curiosity, almost as if he wanted to learn more. When Eric woke up, he felt worse than before. The buzzing in his ears was louder, and the mark on his arm was even bigger. He tried to eat, but his hands shook so much that he dropped his spoon. He looked at his reflection in the mirror and barely recognized himself. His eyes looked tired, and his skin seemed paler than usual. Finally, Eric decided to see a doctor. He put on a long-sleeve shirt to hide the mark and walked to the nearby clinic. The waiting room was cold and smelled of antiseptic. When the nurse called his name, Eric felt his heart pounding in his chest. He tried to explain what was wrong, saying he felt dizzy and tired and that he had a strange mark on his arm. The doctor checked him carefully, took his temperature and blood pressure, and asked a lot of questions. Eric tried to show the mark, but the doctor just frowned. "It looks like a rash," the doctor said. "Maybe you touched something in the field. I'll run some tests, but I don't see anything serious. Get some rest and drink plenty of water. If it gets worse, come back." Eric nodded, but inside he felt more lost than ever. He knew this was no ordinary rash. Back at home, Eric sat on his couch, looking at his phone. He searched online for stories about strange marks, missing time, and blue lights. He found a few stories from people who claimed to see UFOs or meet aliens, but none of them sounded like what he was experiencing. Still, he saved the links and wrote down the names. By evening, Eric was exhausted. He lay on his bed and stared at the ceiling, listening to the buzzing in his ears. He wondered if he would ever feel normal again. As he closed his eyes, he promised himself he would not give up. He would keep recording, keep searching for answers, and never stop believing that something real had happened to him. Eric did not know what tomorrow would bring, but he knew this was just the beginning of his strange, new journey. Eric woke up late the next morning. His head felt heavy, and his whole body ached. The buzzing sound in his ears was louder, making it hard to think clearly. He slowly sat up in bed and rubbed his eyes. For a moment, he hoped everything would be back to normal, but as soon as he pulled up his sleeve, he knew it was not. The silvery mark on his arm had grown overnight. It now covered his forearm and looked almost like it was moving beneath his skin. The color had changed too. It was more blue than silver, and in some places it seemed to glow faintly, especially in the shadows. Eric felt a wave of panic. He touched the mark gently. It was warmer than the rest of his skin. Sometimes it felt like it was pulsing in time with his heartbeat. He wondered if anyone else had seen something like this. He opened his laptop and typed in a search for glowing mark after UFO and alien encounter body changes. Most of the stories he found sounded fake or like wild fantasies, but a few had things in common: missing time, strange dreams, and marks that changed shape or color. One post caught his attention. A person from another country wrote about seeing a blue light and waking up with a glowing mark on their leg. They said it made them feel tired and strange. But when Eric tried to contact the person, he never got a reply. The day passed slowly. Eric tried to keep busy, but every time he looked down, the mark seemed a little bigger. It started to spread up his arm and towards his shoulder. He covered it with a long-sleeve shirt, but the buzzing in his ears and the heavy feeling in his body made it hard to do anything. Eric tried to eat but had no appetite. He drank water and checked his temperature, which was a little higher than normal. The buzzing sound got so loud that he had to turn up the TV just to drown it out. By afternoon, Eric realized he could not face this alone anymore. He needed someone to believe him. He called his closest friend, Mia. She was smart and always helped him with problems, even when he thought no one else would listen. Eric's hands shook as he dialed her number. "Hey, Eric, you sound weird. Are you okay?" Mia asked as soon as she answered. Eric's voice was quiet. "Mia, I need to talk to you. Something happened to me and I don't know what to do." Mia listened as Eric told her everything. He talked about the blue light, the field, waking up in his car, and the mark on his arm. He explained how it was changing and making him feel tired and strange. There was a long pause. Then Mia said, "Eric, I believe you. I've never heard you sound like this before. Can I come over?" Eric felt relief flood his body. "Please, I just need someone to see it. Maybe you'll understand." Mia arrived an hour later with a worried look on her face. She brought soup and a bag of groceries. Eric rolled up his sleeve and showed her the mark. Mia gasped and reached out to touch it. "It feels warm," she said, frowning. "It almost looks like it's moving." Eric nodded. "Sometimes I think it's alive. It's getting bigger, Mia. I don't know what to do." Mia took pictures and videos of the mark with her phone. She helped Eric record another video diary. "Maybe we can find other people with the same thing," she said. Together, they searched the internet for more stories. They found a few strange news articles about mysterious marks and missing time, but nothing that matched Eric's experience exactly. As the evening came, Mia urged Eric to go to the hospital. "They need to see this," she said. "This isn't normal, Eric. It could be dangerous." Eric agreed, even though he was scared. They drove to the nearest hospital. In the waiting room, Eric felt everyone's eyes on him. He kept his arm, hidden under his jacket. When the nurse called his name, Mia went with him. The doctor listened to Eric's story and looked at the mark, but he didn't seem to take it seriously. "Sometimes rashes can do strange things," he said. "It's probably an allergic reaction. We'll run some blood tests and see what comes up." Eric tried to explain about the blue light and the lost time, but the doctor only frowned. "Have you been under a lot of stress lately?" he asked. "Sometimes the mind can play tricks on us." Eric felt frustrated and angry. No one would believe him, not even the doctors. After some basic tests, they sent him home with a cream for his skin and instructions to rest. As they left the hospital, Mia squeezed Eric's hand. "We'll figure this out. Don't give up." At home, Eric felt more alone than ever. Even the doctors could not help him. He lay on the couch, staring at his arm, watching the blue lines slowly spread. The buzzing in his ears became a steady hum, almost like a song that never stopped. Mia stayed the night sleeping on the couch with her phone next to her in case Eric needed help. While Eric tried to sleep, he dreamed of the strange room again. This time, the shapes around him were clearer. He could almost understand their voices, soft, gentle, but full of worry. He saw flashes of lights, machines, and symbols floating in the air. When Eric woke up, he found Mia in the kitchen making tea. She smiled at him, but her eyes were full of concern. "We'll keep looking," she said. "You're not alone in this." Eric nodded, thankful for her friendship. He checked his phone and found a new message from one of the people he contacted online. It was short and strange. Do not be afraid. Watch for the dreams. They will help you understand. Eric read the message over and over, wondering what it meant. Maybe the answers were in his dreams. Maybe the mark was not just a curse, but a message or a key to something bigger. He did not know yet. All he knew was that the mark was still, expanding, and something inside him was changing. He would keep searching for answers no matter what. Eric woke up in the middle of the night, sweat covering his forehead. He felt a strange pain in his arm, and when he looked down, the blue mark was even bigger. It had moved up his shoulder and was slowly spreading across his chest. The mark was not just glowing now, it was pulsing, beating like a second heart. Eric tried to take deep breaths, but each time the mark pulsed, he felt a sharp tingling inside his body. He called for Mia, who was sleeping on the couch. She rushed into his room and turned on the light. "Oh my God, Eric. It's worse," she whispered, staring at the mark as it glowed softly in the dim room. Eric's skin looked different. Where the mark spread, it was smoother, almost like metal, and it shined under the lamp. Eric felt scared, but he also felt something new, a deep warmth in his chest, as if something inside him was waking up. "I can't go to the hospital again, Mia. They don't believe me. They think I'm making it up," Eric said, his voice shaking. Mia nodded, but she looked just as worried as Eric felt. She grabbed her phone and started searching the internet for more stories. "There's got to be someone else out there who's been through this," she said. Eric tried to stand up, but he felt dizzy. As he reached for the wall to steady himself, he noticed something even stranger. His hands left faint, silvery prints on the wall, as if some part of the mark had rubbed off. He looked at Mia, who saw it too. "Eric, your skin... Look!" she said, pointing to his arms. Eric stared. The metallic sheen was now spreading from his hands to his neck. Eric was terrified, but he tried to stay calm. He focused on his breathing and remembered the message from the stranger. "Watch for the dreams. They will help you understand." That night, Eric fell into a deep sleep, even though he was afraid. The buzzing in his ears grew louder, turning into a soft melody. Eric saw himself back in the alien room. This time, he could understand a few of the shapes and symbols floating around him. One of the beings stood close, touching his forehead, with a glowing hand. "You are changing, but you are safe," a soft voice said in his mind. Eric wanted to ask questions, but his thoughts felt slow, like he was underwater. He saw flashes of alien landscapes, tall blue trees, strange animals, and bright moving lights in the sky. He saw symbols and numbers he had never learned, but somehow he understood them. When Eric woke up, the pain was gone. He sat up slowly and looked at his body. The mark had stopped spreading for now, but the metallic sheen remained. His blood glowed blue under the sunlight coming through his window. Mia was still in the kitchen, reading articles on her laptop and scribbling notes. "Mia, I saw them again," Eric said. "I think they're trying to help, not hurt. They showed me things, places, symbols. I understood them somehow." Mia listened closely, writing everything down. They decided to test Eric's new abilities. Mia turned on a UV flashlight, and Eric's skin glowed with lines and shapes that hadn't been there before. He could read the strange symbols in his dreams, and now, somehow, he could remember them while awake. Mia suggested they write everything down, just in case it meant something important. As the day passed, Eric noticed even more changes. His temperature was different. It was lower than any human's should be. When he pricked his finger, his blood glowed faintly blue. He felt stronger, like his muscles were charged with energy. He could hear soft sounds that Mia couldn't hear. The ticking of the clock, the hum of the refrigerator, even the distant sounds of cars outside. Eric felt a connection in his mind, almost like a radio signal. He tried to focus on it, and for a moment he heard whispers in a language he almost understood. The alien voices were gentle, repeating the same phrase. Do not fear. Learn and adapt. That evening, the mark started to grow again, moving, faster than before. Eric cried out as the blue light raced across his chest, down his back, and toward his legs. Mia panicked and called emergency services. By the time the ambulance arrived, Eric's entire upper body was covered in a thin, metallic layer. His skin was almost shining in the hospital lights as the paramedics rushed him inside. The doctors were shocked. They kept Eric in a glass room away from everyone else. Scientists and government agents arrived, asking questions and taking samples. Eric felt like he was a test subject, just like he had been in the alien room. But now he wasn't afraid. He knew something important was happening, not just to him, but maybe to the whole world. Mia stayed by his side as much as she could. She helped him remember his dreams, recorded videos, and wrote down everything he saw or felt. News of Eric's condition spread online, and soon people were talking about him everywhere. On the internet, on TV, even in the newspaper. Some people were scared, calling it an alien infection. Others believed Eric was proof that life existed beyond Earth. One night, as Eric lay in his hospital bed, he slipped into a dream deeper than ever before. He saw the beings from the Blue Room. They surrounded him, their faces soft and kind. "You are the bridge," they said. "You will show them. The change is almost done." Eric woke up feeling different. The mark had stopped growing, but his mind was clearer than ever. He felt new memories mixing with his own, and a deep sense of peace settled over him. The doctors checked him every hour, amazed at his vital signs and the strange energy his body seemed to hold. Mia smiled at him through the glass, holding up a notebook filled with notes and drawings. Eric knew he wasn't alone anymore. Whatever had happened to him, whatever he was becoming, Mia was with him. Together, they would face whatever came next, and maybe, just maybe, find out why the aliens had chosen him for this strange, impossible journey. Eric stayed in the hospital, his world now a mix of quiet days and endless questions. The thin metallic layer over his skin did not hurt anymore, and it had stopped spreading. He looked at himself in the mirror one morning and noticed his eyes seemed brighter, almost shining. He felt different, but also stronger, like there was new energy inside him. Every doctor and nurse who checked on him looked amazed, and they spoke in hushed voices, never quite knowing what to say. The government sent people in suits to talk to him. They asked him to describe everything, from the first night in the field to the dreams he kept having. Eric told them the truth, step by step. He explained how the blue light brought him into the alien room, how the beings never hurt him, and how the mark began to grow. He talked about the dreams and the strange messages. In his mind, some of the people seemed afraid of him. Others looked at him with a mix of hope and curiosity, wondering if his story meant there was more life out there. Mia visited Eric every day. She brought books, snacks, and her endless notes. Together, they read and watched the news on her phone. Eric saw himself on TV, a blurry photo from the hospital, rumors about the alien man, and wild theories. Some people said he was dangerous, but others called him a sign of hope or a bridge to a new future. Eric did not feel like a hero, but he tried to stay brave, knowing that people all over the world were watching. As the days passed, Eric noticed new changes inside himself. He found that he could understand some of the alien symbols from his dreams. When he closed his eyes, he could almost hear the voices of the beings, gentle and calm, telling him not to be afraid. One morning, a group of scientists brought a strange metal device to his hospital room. They asked if he could understand it. Eric stared at it, and as he touched it, the symbols on the device glowed. He suddenly knew how to turn it on, how to make it work, even though he had never seen it before. The scientists were amazed. Eric became part of their team, even though he was still their patient. The scientists asked him to help with other strange items that had been found over the years. Things no one could explain. With every device he touched, Eric felt a connection, as if his mind and the alien technology were speaking the same language. The doctors kept a close eye on him, checking his health every day, but Eric's body was stable. His mind was clearer than ever. The government kept Eric's story a secret for as long as they could, but soon people demanded to know more. Eric was given a choice. He could stay hidden or help teach what he had learned. With Mia's support, Eric chose to help. He made a video, speaking simply and honestly. He showed his arm, the mark that was now just a thin blue line, and explained how the aliens had changed him. He said he did not know if it would ever happen to someone else, but he wanted everyone to know that the beings were not monsters. They were curious, and they wanted to understand humans, just as much as humans wanted to understand them. Eric's message spread all over the world. Some people were afraid, but many more were curious. Messages poured in. Stories of others who had seen lights or had strange dreams. Most were just dreams, but a few sounded real. Eric started to connect with these people, helping them understand that they were not alone. Eric's new abilities did not make him feel special, but he knew they gave him a purpose. He worked with scientists to translate alien messages and study the devices. Sometimes he still felt tired or dizzy, but the buzzing in his ears was gone, replaced by a quiet hum that comforted him. Mia was always by his side, and their friendship grew stronger. They laughed and joked, and Mia made sure Eric remembered to eat and rest, even when he wanted to work all night. The hospital slowly became less like a prison and more like a second home. Eric was allowed to walk outside, and sometimes he sat in the garden, watching the sky. He wondered if the aliens were still watching him, or if they would ever come back. He hoped they would, not because he wanted more change, but because he wanted to ask them questions. He wanted to know why they chose him, what their world was like, and if humans and aliens could ever be true friends. One evening, as the sun set and the sky turned orange and pink, Eric closed his eyes and listened. In his mind, he heard the gentle alien voices again, soft as a lullaby. "You are not alone," they whispered. "This is only the beginning." Eric smiled, feeling calm for the first time in weeks. Eric's life was never normal again, but he accepted it. He helped others who were afraid, answered their questions, and reminded them that curiosity and kindness mattered most. He and Mia wrote down everything: his story, the dreams, the symbols, and the way he felt. They published a book together, hoping it would help people understand that the unknown was not always something to fear. Years later, Eric still had the blue line on his arm, a quiet reminder of the night everything changed. Sometimes he felt a spark of energy inside, and he knew the connection to the aliens was still there. Eric was not just a scientist or a patient anymore. He was a bridge, a friend, and a believer in something greater. As he watched the stars, at night, Eric wondered how many other worlds were out there waiting for someone brave enough to listen. He hoped one day people from Earth would travel to those places, not with fear, but with open minds and open hearts. Until then, Eric promised himself he would keep learning, keep helping, and never forget the lesson the aliens taught him. Do not fear. Learn and adapt. And so Eric's story continued, a real life changed by a mystery, made stronger by friendship, and filled with hope for a future where no one would be alone in the universe.